This is the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Dallas Peterson is a professor and extension specialist at Kansas State and serves as president of the Weed Science Society of America. And Dallas, with the weather that we have seen throughout the growing season, I know there's a concern about weed growth when we've seen weather like this in 2015.
Well, certainly we did have a bit of a difficult year for weed control in soybeans, and part of it was related to some of our herbicide resistance issues, and certainly the weather complicated things too as far as getting things done in a timely manner.
And there's an importance right now, especially as we approach harvest, really to keep control of any type of late emerging weeds that may come out too.
We did have a number of escapes this year, and so that probably is going to complicate harvest somewhat, and definitely will produce an abundance of seeds for next year. At this point in time, there isn't a lot that we can do to control those weeds as we're in that maturing stage of growth, but certainly as we near harvest, there may be the opportunity to do some pre-harvest treatments to assist with harvest, but unfortunately, a lot of the seed are already made for next year, and so we'll just have to plan accordingly.
What about fallow fields? How should they look at those?
The same is true in the wheat stubble. It seemed like getting things done in a timely manner was difficult, and with the increased prevalence of glyphosate-resistant weeds, we had a lot of weeds get away from us. In many cases, we had to look at some alternative strategies, maybe perhaps using paraquat or gramoxone, for example. Again, managing the weed seed production is very important for future weed problems.
One final thing, and it's very simple. If you have your weediest fields, probably take care of those during harvest last.
Yeah, and again, especially with the increased problems with glyphosate-resistant weeds, we don't want to be spreading those resistant weeds from one field into another one that maybe doesn't have the resistant weeds yet. So kind of manage harvest accordingly to try to minimize that.
It's not only looking at this year, but obviously, how you plan out for 2016 and what problems that you could see in 2016 in those fields.
Well, it really is, and we need to learn, I guess, from what happened this year and plan accordingly for next year.
Dallas, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
It's been my pleasure.
Dallas Peterson, professor and extension specialist at Kansas State and serves as president of the Weed Science Society of America, has been our guest on the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Learn more at kansassoybeans.org. For Kansas Soybeans, I'm Greg Akagi.